Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahawashi, Bahashim, Arachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto the tabernacle of David, the hopeful elect, scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, I found this interesting, and just to show you that, we don't put our stock in trade, in this man's technology. We at times, we use Chatgpt, for verification on certain things, certain information. But we rely on the Holy Spirit. All right, because it's the unction that gives us what we know. 1 John 2 and 20, and you have an unction from the Holy One, and you know all things. So there's certain things that even AI is not going to get right, because it's not that's not generated by the Holy Spirit. All right, it's just a bunch of data information that exists on the internet, and it processes the information, and then it gives you a summary. All right. So I asked this question to Chatgpt, and this was basically concerning the kingdom, because I saw the elder apostle Tahar's lesson, dealing with Isaiah the 14th chapter, the second verse, whether it came to pass or not. So I was like, let me ask this question. According to Genesis 27:29, Daniel 7:14 and 18, Isaiah 60 verse 10 through 14, and Revelation 2:25 through 26. And I don't want to load it with too many scriptures, so I was like, let me just throw these in there, see what it say. I asked, I use Christ. We know the true name is Yahawashi, but I just use Christ. And the biblical Israelites rule over all nations, and will the people be in servitude? And I was just curious to see, what answer it would give me. So it gives an overview. It says, excellent question. And you've brought together a set of passages that do all touch on the theme of dominion, inheritance, and rulership in the kingdom of God. Let's go step by step through what each verse says, and then look at how they fit together in biblical theology, both prophetically and eschatologically, which shows you that all these passages, it's all dealing with the end times. That this is all prophetic. So these things have not been fulfilled yet. It will basically be fulfilled in the Messianic reign. All right, when Yahawashi returns and deliver his elect, then he's going to dethrone these nations, and they are going to be brought down to submission. Then that's when we're going to be able to rule. All right. So this one, the first one I posted or I asked was this was from the blessing that Isaac blessed Jacob with when he was laying on his bed. All right, and he supplanted, of course, Esau for the blessing, even though the Lord was already determined to give that to Jacob, because it was already appointed, before there was even before they had done good or evil, when they were in the womb, it was about the election. And Paul understood that's why he broke it down in his epistle to the church of Rome. But this verse right here, Genesis 27:29, it says, let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. And then it gives the context. It says, this is Isaac's blessing to Jacob, later called Israel. It's a prophetic declaration that Jacob's descendants would have prominence and authority among nations. And right now, we don't have that prominence. We don't have any authority. We don't have any say-so in anything. We don't even have anything. So that's why we're awaiting, our redemption. All right. And the Lord, once he does that, then that's when Israel will be exalted again. All right. But right now, the nations are still in rule. But the Lord's going to put down all power and authority. And he's going to basically take back that authority. All right. And his elect are going to be joint heirs with him. It says, meaning at the physical level, it refers to Israel's role among nations. At the spiritual level, it foreshadows the Messianic line through Israel, culminating in Hamashiach, who rules all nations. All right. And then the next verse, Daniel 7:14 and verse 18, it says, and to him was given dominion and glory and a kingdom that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. But the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever. All right. And that word serve just keeps coming up. And I made sure to include all these verses because it's all centered around the same theme of the kingdom, right? Because this is what's going to be happening in our kingdom. It's going to be a lot of servitude. Now, you're going to see that Chatgpt fumbles a bit. It's going to actually be in denial based on the context of these verses. Because it's explaining, all right, what's actually going to happen. But for some reason, it's not going into the very detail. All right, it says, Daniel sees a vision of world empires being replaced by the everlasting kingdom of the Son of Man. Verse 14, the Son of Man, Yahawashi Mashiach, receives universal dominion. All nations serve him. What does that mean to serve him? What are all these nations going to be doing to constitute that servitude? Right? It says, verse 18, the saints, which are the Israelites, only the Israelites could be saints, sharing that rule. They possess the kingdom with them. The kingdom of God will be a joint reign of Hamashiach and his people. And who is his people? Get a quick verse. Luke 1 and 68. And it says, blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and have raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers, and to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he sware to Father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. And thou, child, shalt be called the prophet of the highest, for thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways. Dealing with John, to give knowledge of salvation unto his people by remission of their sins, through the tender mercy of our power, whereby the day spring from on high have visited us. All right. So his people was talking about Israel. Let me get this one. Matthew 2 and 6, it says, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. All right. So that's going to be the people who's going to reign with him in his kingdom. Okay. Isaiah 60 and 10 through 14, it says, foreigners shall build up your walls, and their king shall minister to you. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve you shall perish. The sons of those who afflicted you shall come bending low to you. This is a prophecy about Zion's future glory. And it's not fulfilled in these devils, or these rats that are trying to establish a satanic world order as we speak. Definitely not fulfilled in them. They can't even keep the land together over there. How are you the fulfillment of, the reestablishment of, the throne of David, the tabernacle of David, the kingdom, but you important uh, uh, trees that's not even native to Israel. And then next thing you know, you having a damn big ass wildfire in the Holy Land. Them Aleppo pine trees, they're flammable due to the resin content within the trees. You had acres of land burning because of those trees, because them devils decided to import those trees into the Holy Land. The olive tree is actually fire resistant. You would think that they would have actually grown more olive trees over there, but they clearly not the people. All right, and they're not the fulfillment of the Lord's reign on earth. All right, it says often interpreted as Jerusalem restored in the Messianic age, meaning the nations will serve and honor Israel. Those who oppress them will humble themselves before them. This is a picture of the reversal of oppression and exaltation of God's people. All right. It says this language echoes both spiritual servitude, acknowledging God's chosen people and their king, and political subordination, nations serving under the rule of Zion. All right. And they're getting close because, this is true, because they're going to have to keep our holy days, because the law is going to be the standard. And that's how we're going to govern the world, through the law. Like it says in Isaiah 2, all right, the law shall go forth out of Zion. But it's not just political subordination. All right, we're going to literally put you in servitude. And this is what Chatgpt is failing to detail. All right, that they're going to go under a harsh captivity, servitude. All right, they're going to be in tribute, like during the time of the throne of David, King David. When he was on the throne and he went to war and he subdued all these nations, he put them in slavery. Okay, and we had them, doing all sorts of things for us. All right, and it's going to be that way when we get into the kingdom. Revelation 2:25 through 26, it says, only hold fast that what you have until I come. The one who conquers and keep my works unto the end, to him will I give authority over the nations, and he will rule them with a rod of iron. Hamashiach is speaking to the faithful believers in Thyatira, right? Thyatira. Those who remain faithful to Hamashiach will share in his rule over the nations. Rod of iron comes from Psalms 2:9, a symbol of firm, just authority, not cruel domination. Now, I'm pretty sure, like these Christians, because they have a very docile mindset when it comes to the things pertaining to the Lord, the salvation, the gospel. So it's kind of like beating around a bush and kind of watering down the essence of what's going to take place. Basically being politically correct. We ain't gonna see it as a cruel dominion. We're gonna see it as a just dominion, where vengeance, because the scriptures talk about in Psalms 149, all right, that we're gonna execute judgment and vengeance. Let me get Psalms 149. It is Psalm 149 and starting at verse 5, it says, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. Why would we need a two-edged sword in our hand? What are we going to be doing with that? To execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. To bind their kings with chains, and that's in prophecy, That's in Isaiah. Was it 49? If I'm not mistaken. Isaiah 24 and 21. All right, we're gonna put them in the prisons, and they're gonna in many days shall they be visited. And this is dealing with the nobles. This is dealing with the elite, the higher ups. Isaiah 24 and 21, and it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days they shall be visited. All right. So they're going to be in captivity. It says to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. All right. Because, hey, they put a yoke of iron on us. That was part of the curse. You will put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until you have destroyed thee. They did that. So the curses are going to reverse when the Lord shows up, and the curses are going to come upon our enemies pursuant to Deuteronomy 30 and 7. So yeah, everything's going to be retributed right back to our enemies. It says to execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all his saints, praise ye the Lord. So this is what, AI, these Christians, these scholars, theological scholars, this is what they really are trying to, water down or hide from. They don't really want to deal with this reality. But this is all prophetic. They don't want to admit that this is what's coming to the world. All right, after the world has done its share of oppression and using and exploiting Israel of servitude. All nations then served themselves of Jacob. They all then took a part of our spoils, one way or another. So this is what's missing in this response. All right. It says, with these teach collectively dominion, and then it says under the anointed receives all authority. Daniel 7 and 14, Revelation 11 and 15, Yahawashi receives the dominion. The saints, Israel, share his reign. Daniel 7:18, Revelation 2:26, are ruled by Yahawashi and his people. So this is correct. Servitude. Now this is where they fumble. This is what they get wrong. Nations serve and bow, meaning submission, not slavery. Genesis 27:29, Isaiah 60 and 12. Now this is where they get wrong. It's not, they're going to be in submission, but you're going to submit in captivity. All right? Because you're going to be in forced labor. All right? And when you look up that word, because some made me just go into that word, and we know the word, the Hebrew word for serve in the Hebrew is ibad, right? And then when you go into all the different corresponding verses that uses this word, these are all the verses that give you the context of what it actually means. All right, it says Genesis 15 when Abram he had that vision, or the angel basically was explaining to him when he was passing through Egypt. He was passing through the land of Canaan, going down into Egypt. It was basically saying that your seed after your descendants, they're gonna be dwelling in this land that's not theirs, and they're gonna serve the people of that land, and they're gonna be afflicted for a certain period of time, 4 centuries, almost 4.5 centuries, that they're gonna be in that land and they're gonna be in bondage. And it uses the word serve. That's what it means. All right, it says, verse 14, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. And how do we serve those Egyptians? They made us build. We had, with brick, straw, and we had to meet a quarter daily. Genesis 25:23 says, and the Lord said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger, and the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. That means that the one who comes out first he's gonna be in captivity and serve and be enslaved by the younger. So that means Esau, the Edomites, they're gonna go into slavery. Okay, we're gonna rule over them and we're gonna possess them. All right. And then here's the blessing in Genesis 27:29. Let the people serve thee and nations bow to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Okay. So yeah, the nations, they're gonna go to work. You jump down here in Exodus, it says, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. We was in slavery, clearly. All right, they was working us, man. You know, whipping us, oppressing us. It says, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field, and their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. All right, so that's bondage. So you nations are going to be in bondage in our kingdom. Now let me go to the law now. Yeah, let's go to Leviticus 25. Leviticus 25. Yeah, Leviticus 20. Yeah, 25 verse 44, and it says, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall you buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, these will be Israelites. Okay, because you can take them and use them. All right, like if they need to pay off a debt, you can hire them as an actual servant. All right, so you would hire them and they would come and serve you. It says, of them shall you buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. And you shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, and to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. This is dealing with the heathen. All right, because up above is dealing with your brother, fellow Israelite. You could take them as a servant, but you don't make them a bondman or a bondmaid. All right, it says, they shall be your bondmen forever, talking about the heathen, but over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule over. You shall not rule one over another with rigor. Okay. So we're gonna make the nations. They're gonna serve us. Okay. And we're gonna rule them with a rod of iron. So that means that it's gonna be harsh. It's gonna be strict. Okay. So going back, now you look up the word, and it goes into the biblical usage. And it says to work, serve, to labor, work, do work, to work for another, serve another by labor. Like when when we go into our land, they're gonna build it up. They're gonna build up the walls. That's in Isaiah 60. All right. It says up here, it says to work in any sense by implication, to serve, till, causatively, enslave, be, keep in bondage, be bondmen, bond service. So these nations, they're gonna be bond men and bond women, and that's what it says in Isaiah 14. All right, we're gonna rule over our oppressors, and they're gonna let me go to it. Isaiah 14 and 2, it says, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And that place is talking about in the Holy Land. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. All right, and it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. So that hard bondage that we were in, that was servitude, ibad. So these other nations, they're going to be in slavery. So you can see that this right here was a fumble. Even Chatgpt can get it wrong. All right. And it says nature of rule, just righteous, restorative, not oppressive. Isaiah 2 and 2 through 4, Zechariah 14, 16 through 19. Well, and that's still being PC. That's not, bringing out every detail about that, because there's going to be consequences. The scriptures give detail to the consequence of the nations that won't serve. Any ones that try to, push back, on the submission and serving us. It actually tells you. Let's go to the one in Zechariah. You can't be PC about this, because the prophecy is as plain as it get. Zechariah 14 and 16, it says, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. All right, you're gonna basically worship Yahawashi, and ultimately the Most High is gonna be getting the worship through His Son. All right, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And that's going to be the consequence. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So it's going to be harsh. Okay. So, yeah, these nations are they're gonna serve. It says down here, so will the nations be in servitude. That depends on what you mean by servitude. If you mean harsh slavery, then no. And I just disproved that. It is going to be harsh. What do you mean when it says we're going to rule them with a rod of iron? Let's go to the one in Revelation. And it says, Revelation 2 and 26 says, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power of the nations, and they shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So what does that mean? Revelation 19:15. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of almighty power. So, in other words, when these nations get took down, it's going to be in a violent, forceful fashion. Just like they, when we got took down and we were made to serve these other nations, it took for them to beat us into submission. They had to force us, man. They had to carry us away physically. They had to get violent. They had to burn our cities down. They took the daughters of Zion, took them as spoils. They all that comes with that. So that's how we're gonna rule them. Okay. Psalms 2:8, asking me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. What does that mean? Because Israel, we're his battle axe and weapons of war. And he said with Israel, he's gonna, break in pieces, all these people. And we're gonna have spiritual power as well. So we're gonna be a force not reckoned with, man. Because our power is gonna be divine. And then I already read Psalms 149. So Chatgpt is getting it wrong, all right? But it's just basing off of the information that's already given on the internet. These Christians, which, they're very docile and soft. They don't deal with the harshness, of the scriptures. The prophetic picture of the Messianic kingdom is one of righteous rule, peace, and worship, not oppression. Now it says we're gonna do to these nations what they've done to us. He that leaveth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed by the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. All right. If you mean submissive service, acknowledging Yahawashi's authority and the exalted position of his people, then yes, the nations will serve. So you can see that it really didn't want to answer it, in a certain way. All right, trying to be politically correct and, all soft about it. But the prophets, they're going to tell you directly like it is. And we're not ashamed of the gospel. All right. We stand by every word that is written, man, every jot, every tittle. And yes, we get vilified for it, but hey, it is what it is. Because at the end of the day, it's all the Lord's will. His will be done. And if our people don't like it, hey, it's whether you hear, whether you forbear, the Lord's going to bring it to pass, man. So I just wanted to go into that, just to show y'all sometimes, Chatgpt can be faulty. It's not always 100%. Yeah, I mean, it does what it's supposed to do, but, when it comes to, more detailed, circumstances and things dealing with the harsh realities of the scriptures, we're not going to expect it to, hit it on the head. All right. And that's where we come in and through the spirit. So anyway, Lord willing, y'all were edified. Let me give all honor, all praise, and glory to Yahawashi, Yahawashi, and to the next one, Shalom.